Hi there guys and ghouls. This is Paranormal Investigation Stories number 24. And this particular investigation took place in just outside the North Yorkshire town of Thirsk, in a place called the Busby Stoop Inn. On this investigation was myself, Adeline Ratcliffe, Daniel Child, John Maunder, John Fox, Ellie Fleming, and several other people who I have forgotten the name of, excluding one of course, which was Angelina Hamill from Angelina's World, the psychic medium, who on previous investigations had kind of put a damper on everything that was done. As I have said before, she was always right and the others were always wrong. Anyhow, I digress. The Busby Stoop Inn is kind of based on a crossroads. It's just outside Thirsk. And the legend has it that within the pub there was a gentleman called Thomas Busby who murdered his father-in-law Daniel Orty. He hammered him to death, beat him to death with a hammer. And because of his crime back in 1702, Thomas Busby was sentenced to death and he was hung from a gibbet on the crossroads directly opposite the pub where it stands now, as an example to all others and to people who perhaps would have considered taking a similar route. Thomas Busby and his father-in-law were in league together. They were both common criminals and were involved in the counterfeiting of coins of the realm. And the argument actually broke out over this industry they had going, where they were counterfeiting money, which resulted obviously in Daniel dying and Thomas being charged and hung. On his way to the gallows, Thomas cursed a chair within the pub, a chair which he always sat in while he was there drinking. And funnily enough, legend has it that whoever sat in that chair afterwards would die. Whatever form of death would meet them, they would die. And eventually, after many deaths, allegedly, over the centuries, the chair was actually hoisted and fastened on the wall, so nobody could actually sit on it. However, strange experiences still continued within the walls of the pub. So eventually the chair was taken and it is still in the Thirsk Museum. So if anybody visits the area and they are interested in seeing the chair, you know where it is. I, for one, and as many have said before me, had the chair still been there, I would have risked sitting in the chair just for the opportunity to prove the legend wrong. and if I hadn't proved it wrong, then more fool me. Anyhow, on arrival to the pub, we were greeted by quite a jovial landlord who unfortunately gave us the whole history of the pub and told people exactly what to watch out for, the areas where there was the most paranormal activity, and the fact that there were 5 ghosts within the building. The major ghost being in bedroom 4, along of course with the occasional appearance of Thomas Busby. The landlord bade us good night and went to bed and left us to roam around the pub, the outbuildings, etc., etc. Many paranormal experiments were done, where EVPs were taken, photographs were taken, which inevitably showed up orbs as they always do. There were pendulum sessions, there was a séance, and during the séance there were several things came out. Several names were brought forward. Names which, to be fair, would have fitted that time of 1702. But there was no sign of John. There was no sign of Daniel. Just names in general were being plucked out of the air by the people in the séance. We had been told that the gents' toilets were very, very active with spirit. And yet on entry to those toilets, the most worrying thing was a sign which read, "The stalls or cubicles are 1-person occupancy only. No cottaging allowed in this establishment." Which, although it did give cause for laughter, and it was amusing, it was quite worrying as well about the signs of the times that we are living in, when such sordid activities are going on under our very noses and in places where people go just for enjoyment, for an evening out. Very, very sad indeed. Contradict me if you wish, but some things are better left for when you're at home, shall we say. Anyhow, during the evening, it was difficult to say because it was quite disappointing, because with it being on a crossroads, there were cars going past constantly. So there were lights shining into the pub, and it kind of took the edge off the evening where you would like to have been in darkness and being left alone with the spirit world. Several people, including myself, had been outside, and we all agreed that within the garages outside the building there was far more spiritual activity there than in any room in the pub at all. Angelina went into room 4 and claimed that she had picked up on the spirit of a 15-year-old girl who had been murdered there at the hands of one of the older residents, clients of the pub, where he had actually taken her to this room with evil intent to seduce her, to rape her, whatever. But when she had fought back, he had actually cut her throat. Nobody else during the evening picked up on that. Angelina, however, did. And she decided that with this, in her opinion, being the hub of any energy that was happening within the pub of spiritual nature, that she would sit there all night and she would have people going up and she would give a reading to them. Dion Childs in particular, she gave him a reading, and I know what went on because I was present within the room at the time. And she gave him a reading which some of it he understood, some of it he didn't. The crowd downstairs had kind of broken up into fits of laughter through people being there who weren't taking the evening seriously. They were kind of mocking and joking about the spirit world, which really turns me off, because if you don't understand something, don't take the mickey out of it, just keep quiet. And if you're privileged enough to be shown things by the spirit world, then respect it. Don't make a mockery of them. John Maunder and I went back into bedroom 4 after Angelina had departed, and we both felt that there was an energy there. There was a spirit presence, yet there was nothing which was in any way threatening. Neither of us knew whether it was the spirit of this girl who had allegedly been murdered. Because I'm quite sure if it had been her, there would have been much more stress and much more anxiousness within the spirit energy. It seemed a much more gentle energy, like someone who had possibly lived in the pub at some point, had worked in the pub, and had perhaps just passed of natural causes. All in all, we finished the investigation at 6 a.m. and I have to be perfectly honest and say that it was another investigation which was ruined by people not taking things seriously, and also the presence of Angelina, which made people kind of a bit uptight and a bit worried about what they said in case she disagreed. And as I have said to people so many times, she is undoubtedly very good at what she does. She does get some incredibly detailed messages from people who have passed. But she is not always right. She does have times when she flounders and when she is wrong. And it's just such a shame that she was able to spoil another investigation. Anyway, for anyone wanting to go to the Busby Stoop, please feel free. It costs about £265 for the night, and you get from midnight until 6 a.m. The landlord is very accommodating. His wife is a lovely person. Just don't be taken in with the stories he gives you, and in particular about these 5 ghosts. Go with an open mind and see what you can find for yourselves. My next investigation report will be number 25, and I believe that it will be from a pub in Elland, which is on the side of the canal, and at this moment in time its name has gone from my memory, but I'm sure that I will be able to remember it at some point. I can certainly remember the investigation, I can remember everybody who was there. I can even remember the layout of the pub. I believe it's called The Barge Inn. And that will be my next investigation report. And this was a much more interesting pub, much more interested in the investigation than the Busby Stoop ever was. Thank you again for listening. Please feel free to subscribe to my channel, Graham Jenkinson, on YouTube. Click like if you like it. Please feel free to leave a comment. Not many people are leaving comments. Please feel free to do so. Click the bell and you will get notifications of any other uploads that I put on. I thank you once again for listening. I wish you all well. Please stay safe during this current coronavirus. Namaste. And thank you once again for listening.